Hello and welcome to this week's episode of John's Garage. This week's episode is going to prove to be the most bland, boring episode possible, and you'll see why in just a moment. So stay tuned, folks. You're not going to be entertained this week. Okay, you're welcome, folks. For those of you who have stayed with the promise that this is going to be boring, why is it going to be boring? Well, this week we are having a look at my 2013 Toyota Avensis. And the reason we're having a look at this car this week is it's featured in the back of a number of different videos. It's heavily influenced my opinion of Toyota and my opinion of the owning experience and stuff like that. But the main reason we're filming it this week is because I'm saying goodbye to it. I have a company car on the way. I have a new job starting, and I decided, you know what, before this old faithful Labrador goes, I like to call it a Labrador, I wanted to say goodbye to it, and I wanted to make a nice video just to explain to people why sometimes a car can be greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, now what do I mean by that? I mean that this car is terribly average in every single way, but because it's so average in every single way, it doesn't upset anybody. In fact, because it's so average in every single way, it does an absolutely brilliant job of what it's there to do, and that's provide transport. So let's get into it, okay? I've owned this car since June 2017. I bought this car the same week I moved into my first home, and the reason I bought this car, well, there was a couple of reasons, okay? First of all, I needed something that was very comfortable, what I was perceiving to be very reliable, very well built, well priced, and so on and so forth. And because I was moving into a new home and hoping to start a family, I wanted something A, that could grow with me, but B, that wasn't going to give me any bombshells. It wasn't going to surprise me at any time or leave me worried. So I went to my local Toyota dealer, that's Ivers & Cullinan in Nina. Highly recommend them. And I purchased this. Now, you might ask me, what did you have before this? And this is where some people will raise an eyebrow. I traded in a 2010 Alfa Romeo 159 for this. Kind of night and day type cars in some ways, in other ways not so much, but yeah, there was a bit of a difference. So the Alfa had been giving me a couple of running issues, nothing major. Suspension was made of chocolate, kept needing parts. I was just getting a little bit tired of it. I was also covering heavy mileage. That car had 242,000 kilometers on it, and I was about to start a job where I was going to be doing mega mileage. And I just said, listen, this car is going to let me down one of the days, and I just need something that's reliable. So I came across this and I purchased it with 75,000 kilometers. It had been serviced on the button every 15,000 kilometers at the main dealer for the first couple of years of its life, up to 2017, up until I bought it. And I took it on from there. Now, I could have made a lot of other choices. I could have bought a lot of other, what I perceived to be nicer cars at the time. But I'll be honest, I just wanted something vanilla, bland. I just wanted something that was going to give me no surprises, that was cheap to run, and that was comfortable. That was it. And that I could grow a little bit with. And that's how I ended up with the Toyota Avensis. Now, of course, being me, I didn't want the base model. I wanted the nice one. If I was getting an Avensis, if I was going to be bored, I wanted to be comfortable. So I got the Luna spec, and I also got one with this nice light colored trim. The reason I got this was all about comfort. It was all about ergonomics. It was about me being on long journeys and not wanting to feel like I was in a cave, or that I was driving in a, you know, like feeling tired while I was driving. I just wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to be able to arrive refreshed in places, and this car did it without fail across 5 years. Now, not everything went to plan with the car. So as I kind of alluded to, I wanted something reliable. I've said it several times already. It has been hugely reliable, but it hasn't been perfectly reliable. I did suffer one of the common faults that goes along with these cars, and that's with injector failures. There's a Bosch injection system in this. It does give trouble, okay, and it can be expensive. You can go the cheap route of replacing each injector as they fail. It costs about 400 euros, I think, per injector. Maybe it's cheaper now, but that's what it was costing at the time when I was doing it. But because I was relying on this car, there was some mornings I could be up at 4 o'clock in the morning driving from Tipperary to Donegal town, do a day's work. I could be driving from Donegal town then down to Tramore in County Waterford. I needed a car that I could be 100% sure would be able to do it without fuss. I didn't mind if it needed to go in for regular maintenance. I didn't mind if things kind of gave bother and, you know, it had to go in and have those fixed. I didn't want that to happen, but I could live with that. The one thing I couldn't live with was failure to arrive at work, because that would cost me dearly, and it would have a big impact on other people going on the work I was doing at the time as well. So rather than just replace the one injector that failed, myself and the dealership came to an agreement. Actually, they made me a very generous offer. They offered to provide completely free labour, because it happened 12 months to the day after I bought the car. So they stumped up and they came with complete free labour for all the replacement parts if I replaced everything. So if I replaced everything, they'd give me the parts at cost, they'd provide the labour, and that would kind of be our agreement. And it was a very good agreement. I was very, very happy with it. Car has given no problems whatsoever with the injection system since then, and I believe they're upgraded parts, so it should never ever give anybody any bother. Car currently sits on 228,000 kilometers, 417 if you want to be exact, and other than that, it's been pretty good. Now, up until about 10 days ago, of course, when a rattle came in it was the pulley on the aircon system. It's linked up to the water pump, it's linked up to a couple of other bits and pieces under the engine. I had no choice. I could either delete the aircon, which I was not doing, or I could pay for a new aircon compressor, and that's what I did. And again, main dealer fitment. And again, I mentioned earlier on that this car was serviced from new every 15,000 kilometers. Well, I continued that. Every 15,000 kilometers, regardless of date or time, this car was landed into the main dealer. Now, you might say, well, I could push out the servicing a little bit. I could, but you might say, why did I keep going back to the main dealer? For me, it was convenience as well as a few other bits and pieces. So first of all, I worked out I could service the car myself, but again, back to the fact that I was relying on this car every single day, wanted to make sure things were being done right. Number two, cost. The Toyota main dealer servicing isn't expensive. Using genuine parts isn't expensive. I didn't ever feel like this car was costing me a huge amount more to run going the main dealer route, so I was happy to do it. As I kind of viewed it as an important tool of my trade, no problem, it had to be looked after. I was dependent on the car, so again, I didn't mind. And the other convenience for me was I could ring up and I could say, listen, I'll drop it off at 2 o'clock, I need it by 3:30, can that be done? Yeah, no problem, John, we'll have that ready to go by then. Good communication, good, as I say, warranty backup, good explanation of any issues that were coming with the car. It just made it such a pleasurable experience. Okay, so that's Ivers and Cullinan in Nina in County Tipperary. I will say, you will pay for a car from them. They are not a cheap garage, but they give good trade in, and on top of that, as I said, good service in my experience. I've never had an issue with them. Very obliging crew in there, okay? Now, the car. So, what can I say? So I went for the top spec. It comes with this lovely plastic wood trim. So lovely plastic trees in Japan have been used to build this. 6-speed gearbox, cruise control, Bluetooth. I can send my music onto the radio. Nice climate control system. Other than that, it's comfortable. All round electric windows, loads of space in the rear, huge amount of space in the boot. I could fit 4 or 5 bodies in there if I had to. If I was a poor mafia hitman, no wonder taxi drivers like these. You can fit loads in there. Other than that, it's just been a comfortable dog, a comfortable work, I suppose faithful dog is what I'm saying, not a dog as such, but a faithful old dog. I've really enjoyed my time with it, so much so that it's actually come time for me to part with the car. Now, I don't know, by the time this video goes up, the car might already be sold. If it's sold, I'll mark that underneath in the description of the video. If it's still for sale, I'll throw in the ad if it's on done deal at that stage. I'm actually doing everything I can right now to avoid putting it on done deal. I've let people know it's for sale. I've parked it outside my house. I'm doing the old school thing of putting it outside by the road and seeing if somebody wants to buy it. I just want to avoid done deal. It's great service, it's a great platform. Just some of the people that contact me annoy me a lot, so I just prefer if I could avoid there. But if it's still for sale at the time the video goes up, I'll let you guys know. Other than that, fuel economy wise, I've never reset the fuel economy thingamabob here, but it's reading 6.5 litres per 100 kilometre. I always worked it out somewhere between 40 and 45 miles per gallon. Sorry, I seem to have picked up a hair. Yeah, so it's been fine that way. I won't say I've owned a number of Toyota Avensis and a number of petrol and diesel models. I actually have never found the diesel model to be particularly fuel efficient, but I have found it in general to be very, very reliable and very, very easy to maintain and to work on and cheap to get parts for. If it was a petrol one, I've found them equally as refined. I found them very, very reliable, actually more so than the diesel. And I would also say the fuel efficiency out of them is probably on a par for the diesel. So would I pick petrol over diesel? Yeah, I probably would in the long run if there was better availability of petrol. Other than that, as I say, the comfort has been great. Now, one thing about this car is, given it's comfortable, given it's easy to cover a lot of miles on, I will have to say it's particularly bland to drive. It's not powerful. The way I've actually mastered it, if I could use that word, is I just drive it like a petrol car, because I don't know what happened in the factory, but they forgot to put any torque in the engine. So it's not like a diesel engine where the turbocharger kicks in and off she goes for about 1,000 RPM and then it dies off in power. This thing just doesn't have any power. So I just drive it like a petrol car. It seems to work fine like that. I do remember a number of years ago, the Gardaí took on a fleet of these around the time of Ireland's economic crash. They took on a fleet of these and they hated them. I don't think it was reliability. I think it was just complete and utter lack of power, lack of speed. The cars just didn't like them. They preferred the Ford Mondeos and Opel Insignias that were available at the time, much more so than these. Other than that, a couple of little extras I've fitted. I've got boot liners, genuine Toyota Avensis boot liners, genuine Toyota Avensis rubber mats, and yeah, another good thing though I will point out, if anybody is ever buying one of these, they see the light coloured material, don't be afraid of it. Light coloured material can water stain quite badly and can take up a lot of marks and a lot of grub. These aren't material though. Alcantara in the centre, leather on the bolsters. I could spill bottles of water on these. I can let the dog in on top of them. They just wipe clean. There is no marks. I haven't valeted the car. I haven't done anything like that. It is as it is. And there's no marks anywhere. That's just the type of car that it is. But yeah, I'd highly recommend one to somebody who wants something that maybe allows them to not have to worry about too much about bills. At this stage, the injectors should all be done on them, I would imagine. If they haven't been done, it's a great bargaining point because they're expensive, and look for evidence of it. Now, the other thing I would suggest, as I say, miles per gallon, yeah, they're okay, they're grand. They're not going to blow your socks off. I wouldn't pick it over a petrol one if it was miles per gallon you were looking at. But other than that, it's a super comfortable, super sensible buy. And the main thing I love about this car is it's allowed me to own all my other cars because everything is predictable on it. Apart from the injectors, they went 12 months into the experience. The air can compress, they're fine. The car's nearly 10 years old. Something's got to give. But other than that, it's been pretty sensible, pretty straightforward, and this means it allows me to spend on other car projects, on other purchases, on other things I'd like to spend, because it's just a faithful old dog. And I'll actually be honest, I'm really, really sad the car is going. I do, as I say, have a new job that's coming with a company car. I'm excited about the job. The company car, we'll wait and see. It's probably a little bit like when I got the Avensis. I just was like, nah, it's an Avensis. It'll do what I wanted to do. I'm not buying it because I love it. And I've actually turned around that I've really ended up loving the car much more so than I've ever felt before. It's just a faithful old Labrador. If you want to compare it to something, it's a Labrador. It's there. It's not going to give you any surprises. It's not going to turn around and bite you or scare you. It's just there, and it's faithful, and it just wants to do whatever you want it to do. I'm kind of fooling around with different plans in my head. Will I complete some projects a little bit quicker? Will I buy something a little bit silly? I don't know. I don't know what to do. But I'm going to sell the car, and yeah, I'm kind of sad to see it go, I'll be honest with you. Ooh, a couple of other niceties I forgot to add. Automatic headlamps, automatic wipers, rear parking camera, all that jazz is there. And one thing I actually love about this car is, apart from this massive cubby hole here, it's the fact that it's got keyless entry and keyless go. And I'm a real big fan of that. I've actually really grown to like that with this car. It just makes entry and exit in all types of weathers and so on and so forth a lot easier. You don't have to be fooling around for keys. And the other thing is, I can guarantee you a beautiful aircon in this car because I just spent an absolute fortune on it. And for anyone who's wondering why I spent so much money on the air condition, 657 euros to be exact, only last week, it's because I didn't expect to get the new job. So when I got the new job, I was a bit like, oh, I just spent a lot of money on my car and I didn't need to. But anyway, I suppose it was needed for the next person. So whoever ends up with this car, whether they agree with me or disagree with me, is getting a complete bargain. And I hope they appreciate it, because I've looked after it to the absolute ends of the world. And I really hope they enjoy it, because I've absolutely loved having it. It's just been such a nice car. And with that, folks, I'm going to say bye-bye. Bye-bye to the Avensis, and we'll see you guys soon, all right? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that other jazz as well. Thanks very much, folks. Bye-bye.